7 o'clock. Well, welcome to the Raymore City Council regular meeting for Monday, December the 12th, 2022. I'll call the meeting to order and ask for the roll call, please.
Councilmember Abdelgawad.
Here.
Councilmember Barber.
Present.
Councilmember Berenson.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Present.
Councilmember Forster.
Present.
Councilmember Holman.
Present.
Councilmember Townsend.
Present.
Councilmember Wills.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow.
Present. We have a quorum. Would you please rise and join me in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excuse me. Thank you. We have no presentations and awards this evening or personal appearances, so we'll move on to staff reports. Mr. Fearborn?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Ms. Hill to make a staff report for the city clerk's office.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Candidate filing for the April 4th, 2023 municipal election will open on Tuesday, December 20th. Each of the 4 wards will select 1 seat for a 2-year term. Those wishing to file may do so in person between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. each business day from December 20th, 2022 through January 17th, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? If not, Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. I would ask Mr. Gress to make a staff report for development services.
Thank you, sir. Mayor and Council, within your packet was a report for the month of November for our department. A couple things I wanted to highlight just briefly. As we're all excited about, Johnny's Tavern made considerable progress on the inside of their building. They actually have a specific company they hire that actually comes in and puts all the unique fancy stuff that goes into those buildings of theirs, and so they are nearing completion of the entire building. They hope to open during the month of January within the first couple of weeks. As you may have seen, they've started hiring with some stuff on social media, so really excited about that project. Further on the east side of town, I think I mentioned at the last meeting, the Blush Boot Camp, which is over there, 701 East Walnut, just in front of the storage units. That project continues to make progress on the inside. I think they're targeting opening within March or April. They have a little bit more work to do on the inside of that building yet. And then likely in the first of the year would be the opening of the Radiant Selfie Studio right across the street. That group has posted a couple different pictures online of kind of what their setup looks like, and it's actually quite interesting. So if you have any teenagers that are interested in taking pictures, or as somebody referred to it, the new age glamour shots of what people used to do back in the day, will be a pretty interesting business across the street. That will conclude my staff report.
Thank you, David. Anyone have any questions? Mr. Gress? Yes, Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Gress, I specifically avoided the area today. I was just curious of what the turnout was for the opening of Whataburger.
So I think I'll defer any specific comments to Chief Wilson, since his staff was on site today a little more regularly. When I attended just after the lunch hour, I think I was in line for maybe 15 minutes or so, but they were pushing cars through pretty quickly.
Okay, thank you. Sorry if I jumped the gun on any of your comments, Mr. Chief Wilson.
Anyone else? Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Mr. Gress. I was going to call on Chief Wilson, but he's now had his report done. Chief Wilson, please.
Just as David said, Mr. Gress said, the traffic has been the same throughout the day. As of 6:30 this evening, it was still the same, probably about 15-minute wait. The backup has not come out of the lot, Whataburger lot at all. So I don't know that. I had 4 officers off duty working for Whataburger, and I think 2 were close to Whataburger, and the other 2 were sitting in their car down in Office Max lot, nice and warm. So I'm not so sure we'll be there tomorrow. And then, do you have any questions about the traffic? I just have one more item, is the Raymore Shop with a Cop event. Some of you were there and participated. I appreciate the help. It was very successful. We ran from 5:30 to 10 Thursday evening. It was a very long evening. We took 60 kids shopping, both Raymore and Peculiar officers. They all the families also got a $25 gift card for Price Chopper for a meal. And then they all were fed Chick-fil-A and played basketball, and everyone wrapped gifts, all the volunteers wrapped gifts, and it was very successful. I say it was successful because nobody threw up. So that was the event. Any questions?
Anyone? Okay. Thanks, Chief. Mr. Fearborn?
Thank you, Chief. Just remind the council, we do have a work session next Monday, December 19th. 3 items. It will be the Mr. Crash Show next Monday. We will be presenting the 2023 street preservation and curb program to the council for your consideration. And we will also be making several recommendations on some stop sign installations. That concludes staff reports tonight, sir.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Fearborn? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the consent agenda or any of those items within.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
I move that we approve the consent agenda item A, City Council minutes for November 28, 2022. Item B, Resolution 22-32, acceptance of public improvements, the venue of the Good Ranch Lots 1, 4, 5, and Track B. And agenda item C, Resolution 22-38, acceptance of public improvements for Alexander Creek Third Plat.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda, all 3 items. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. We'll now move on to unfinished business. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3762 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3762 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, vacating a portion of a 25-foot utility easement located on Lot 417 in Westbrook at Creekmore 15th Plat, a subdivision in the City of Raymore, Cass County, Missouri.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
move that we approve Bill 3762, easement vacation for 1109 Hillswick Lane.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you, sir. The motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3762. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Thank you. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3761 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3761 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, approving the final plat of Elite Fence Lot 1, a tract of land located in Section 15, Township 46 North, Range 32 West, in Raymore, Cass County, Missouri.
Thank you. If there are no further questions on this item, I entertain a motion to dispose of it.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
move that we approve the second reading of Bill 3761, Elite Fence Final Plat, Lot 1.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I will second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3761. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Thank you. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3760 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3760 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, approving the final plat of Foxwood Plaza Lots 1 and 2, a replat of Foxwood Plaza Lot 2, Raymore, Cass County, Missouri.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
move that we approve the second reading of Bill 3760, Starbucks Final Plat, Foxwood Plaza, Lots 1 and 2.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3760. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Thank you. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3763 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3763 by title only, an ordinance approving an amended and restated plan for an industrial development project and authorizing the taxable industrial revenue bonds, KCI Raymore Phase 2 LLC project, Series 2022, related to an industrial development project in the city and authorizing the city to enter into certain agreements and take certain other actions.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
move that we approve the second reading of Bill 3763, Raymore Commerce Center Plan for Industrial Development, Plan Amendment and Restatement, and Chapter 100 Bond Issuance Building 3.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I will second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3763. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. We'll now move on to new business. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3764 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3764 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, calling for and establishing the date of the general municipal election to be held on April 4, 2023.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Ms. Hill to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Good evening again, Mayor and Council. City Charter, Section 9.1, calls for the regular municipal election to be held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in April. The general election for 2023 will be held on Tuesday, April 4th. For a 2-year term for councilmember in Ward 1, currently held by Victoria Wills, a 2-year term for councilmember in Ward 2, currently held by Joseph Burke, a 2-year term for councilmember in Ward 3, currently held by Kevin Barber, and a 2-year term for councilmember in Ward 4, currently held by John Berenson. Candidate filing begins December 20th, 2022, and is open until January 17th, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Any questions of Erica? If not, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3764, calling for the April 4th, 2023 municipal election.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3764. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Thank you. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3771 by title only?
First reading of Bill 3771 by title only, an ordinance authorizing and directing submission to the voters of the City of Raymore, Missouri at the election of April 4, 2023 for the purpose of authorizing the imposition of an additional sales tax of 3% on the retail sale of adult-use marijuana as prescribed by Section 115.11121.3 RSMO and directing the city clerk to provide notice of the election.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Zer to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Fairborn, Mayor, members of the council. What you have before you this evening is a bill that would authorize us to proceed forward with placement of the 3% sales tax on adult-use non-medicinal marijuana sales in the city of Raymore, Missouri. There are a number of municipalities in and around the area that will be participating in very similar ballot language coming forward. If approved by the voters, you all would have the ability to then impose that 3% tax on any sales of adult-use non-medicinal marijuana. There may well end up being a informational campaign that we could participate in as well with other neighboring municipalities, though I would note some of those are specifically allocating those for particular uses. In our case, we are simply identifying it for general fund use. I'm happy to answer any questions you all might have.
Thank you, Mr. Zer. Any questions of Mr. Zer? Well, thank you, sir. If there's no further questions of staff, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
move that we approve Bill 3771, recreational marijuana sales tax on April 4th, 2023 ballot.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I will second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3771. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Can I please have the first reading of Bill 3766 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3766 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Neil Settle Printing, Inc. for printing services.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Ms. Harmer to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Just as we have been doing for several years, we contract with a single vendor to help with our bulk printing needs for business cards, brochures, envelopes, letterhead, posters, postcards, and things of that nature for both internal and external use for the city. We received one bid for our call for proposals, and it was from Neil Settle Printing, and I do recommend accepting this contract.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Holman.
Do they print the review as well, or is that a separate contract with?
That is a
company?
separate contract.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Ms. Forster.
I was curious as how we advertise this, because I was shocked we only got one bid when there's so many around here that
We advertise it all of the normal ways that we advertise every other bid, so local newspaper, online. We have vendors that have bid before that I believe we send this out to as well.
Okay, so like Facebook, online?
No Facebook, but online.
Okay.
Anyone else? Thank you. There are no further questions. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3766, award of contract Neal/Settle Printing Incorporated for printing services.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3766. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Okay, please have the first reading of Bill 3767 by title only.
The first reading of Bill 3767 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Fast Signs for sign printing services.
Thank you. Is there a staff report, sir?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Ms. Harmer to make a staff report on this item.
Thank you. And just as we do with regular printing, we have a single vendor to help us with our sign printing. This is for banners, yard signs, signage for our public spaces and parks facilities. So we received 2 bids on our request for proposals, and 1 bid was from Fast Signs, and 1 was from Blink Signs, based out of state. The pricing, if you'll see in the packet, there was a bid tab. The pricing was cheaper on some of the items for Blink Signs. However, the $280 delivery charge would just be, that would add, even with ordering once a month, that would add over $2,000 to the cost for that. So staff recommends the award of contract to Fast Signs.
Thank you, Melissa. Any questions? All right, thank you very much. If there are no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3767, award of contract for Fast Signs for signs printing services.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3767. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Can I please have the first reading of Bill 3765 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3765 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, approving the estates at Knoll Creek second final plat, lots 57 through 95, and tracts D and E, a subdivision of land located in the southwest quarter of Section 12, Township 46 North, Range 32 West, Raymore, Cass County, Missouri.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Gress to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Mayor and Council, the request before you this evening is for the second phase of the estates at Knoll Creek. Their preliminary plat was approved earlier in 2021, and staff worked with the applicant to facilitate the application of their second phase, which they intend to start on here in 2023. The request includes 39 single-family lots that would be an extension of Halls Creek Avenue, which is what provides access into the subdivision from Prairie Lane. Would bring development further into that, in addition to a couple subdivision improvements that would be shared by both phases of development. That will conclude staff report.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff? If there are no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3765, estates of Knoll Creek second final plat.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I will second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3765. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Could I please have a reading of Resolution 2237? Are there 2 different resolutions on this particular item? It says preliminary plat extension for Madison Valley Phase 2, and has Resolution 2237. Oh, that says it was approved back on 12/20 of 21. Okay, so Resolution 22-37 then.
The reading of Resolution 22-37 by title only, a resolution of the City of Raymore, Missouri, approving a 1-year extension of the preliminary plat for the Madison Valley Phase 2 development.
Thank you. Is there a staff report?
I'd ask Mr. Gress to make a staff report on this item, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor, as you indicated, the original preliminary plat for this subdivision was approved back in December of 2021. Staff and the applicant for this project have been working to facilitate the application, but their project is majorly dependent on the acquisition of land and the extension of Sunset Lane to provide access into their subdivision. And so through our negotiations to acquire that, the applicant has kind of held back, waiting for the green light to proceed with construction in the spirit of what their original MOU contemplated. So staff facilitated the application for the extension so that that plat didn't expire. The developer intends, upon the final design and construction of the road, the applicant intends to move forward. What will likely happen is the construction of some sort of temporary construction road along the alignment of Sunset Lane that would provide access into the subdivision for construction purposes. And then upon final construction of those homes or final construction of the road, that would be the primary entrance for this first phase of development. Again, the original plan remains unchanged from its previous form. It's just staff, without the extension, the plat would expire and the developer would have to start back over from square one. So this provides a one-year extension to that agreement and the preliminary plat while we continue the construction of Sunset Lane. That concludes my staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Griss. I know that the council had taken a position of frowned upon extensions moving forward, but because of the extenuating circumstances here, it does make a lot of sense. So if anybody else have any questions of staff? If not, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
move that we approve the approve Resolution 22-37, preliminary plat extension for Madison Valley Phase 2.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve Resolution 22-37. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3768 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3768 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Trezolo Communications Group for public relations and communication services related to the potential landfill development, and due to the need to begin this work immediately, the mayor declares this as an emergency.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. As the council is aware, the city of Raymore has learned of the potential of a solid waste landfill development directly abutting Raymore's northern border, located in southeast Kansas City, Missouri, between 155th Street and 150 Highway. Staff, in consultation with the mayor and city council, have identified 3 areas for engagement with outside firms related to the potential landfill development, including public relations, legal representation, and impact analysis consulting. Following a review of potential firms to perform this work, Trezolo Communications Group has been determined to be the best partner for public relations initiatives associated with this particular project and to work with the city of Raymore. That concludes staff report on this item, sir.
Thank you, sir. Is there any questions of Mr. Fearborn? Mr. Townsend?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, for the report. I do see in this particular agenda item the cost, but I didn't see where the funding source, so I'm assuming this is from general funds that this would be?
It will be from general fund on an emergency basis, sir, and then we will be regrouping once we have had the opportunity to meet with other stakeholders to see their contribution levels to this effort.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the first reading of Bill 3768.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3768, award of contract to Trezolo Communications Group.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. I will second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3768. Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Holman.
Thank you, Your Honor. This particular location, if it is to be a potential landfill, is a terrible, terrible choice. It will impact the city in ways unimaginable to those that want to undertake such a project. I cannot stand in good conscience on this dais and let such a project go forward. I am completely, 100% in favor of this, and I will fight this effort with every breath that I have as long as I'm a resident of this city.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously 8-0. As I've declared an emergency read for this particular item, could I please have the second reading of Bill 3768 in its entirety?
The second reading of Bill 3768 in its entirety, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Trezolo Communications Group for public relations and communications services related to the potential landfill development, and due to the need to begin this work immediately, the mayor declares this as an emergency. Whereas the City of Raymore has learned of the potential of a solid waste landfill development directly abutting Raymore's north border, located in southeast Kansas City, Missouri, between 155th Street and 150 Highway. And whereas staff, in consultation with the mayor and city council, have identified 3 areas for engagement with outside firms related to this potential landfill development, including public relations, legal representation, and impact analysis consulting. And whereas, following a review of potential firms to perform this work, Trezolo Communications Group has been determined to be the best partner for these public relations initiatives and has indicated a willingness to work with the City of Raymore. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Raymore as follows. Section 1, the city manager is hereby authorized to enter into a contract with Trezolo Communications Group to provide a public information and relations campaign for the city, attached as Exhibit A. Section 2, city manager and the city clerk are authorized to enforce the contract and make changes within budget constraints. Section 3, effective date. The effective date of approval of this ordinance shall be coincidental with the mayor's signature and attestation by the city clerk. Section 4, severability. If any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions thereof. Section 5, emergency reading. Due to the need to contract these services as soon as possible, the mayor had authorized this as an emergency reading. Duly read the first time this 12th day of December 2022. Be it remembered that the above ordinance was approved and adopted this 12th day of December 2022 by the following vote.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any further questions at this time? If not, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve the second reading of Bill 3768, award of contract for Trezolo Communications Group.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ullman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3768. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Thank you. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3769 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3769 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Jeffrey Law Group, LLC, for legal services related to the potential landfill development, and due to the need to begin this work immediately, the mayor declares this as an emergency.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. All of the first 3 paragraphs that I went through with the Trezolo Group apply to this one as well. Again, the 3 areas that we've identified, analysis, legal, public relations, or public information that would be associated with it. This is, of course, the legal that would be associated and the legal work that would be associated with our effort. That concludes staff report on this item, sir.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of staff? Mr. Barber.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just had a question. I noticed that the engagement letter, that there was no retainer required. Was that negotiated or was that volunteered by the law firm?
Actually volunteered by the law firm. One of the items that we discussed with both of these firms, kind of goes to your question as well, council member, was we would be using them on an as-needed basis. It is such a fluid situation, very, very similar to the council that was here at the time will remember when we had engaged Pat Keck. It was when we needed them until we were actually heavily engaged in a lawsuit situation. Where we'll be needing a law firm right now is on an advisory capacity. So they realize that it would be more in the beginning calling them for legal advice on specific questions. If it gets deeper and it turns into a marathon, now you're engaging them possibly in some sort of legal action. Then it becomes a regular, and we renegotiate what's going on there.
Mr. Duggan.
Thank you, sir. The council has had conversation about this in executive session, obviously, and so just for the public to hear, we have a very capable, competent law firm that we work with on a regular basis. Why are we choosing someone else?
Because they specialize in this particular area and working with DNR. They are currently engaged in 2 other environmental actions that are being taken to prevent something like this from occurring.
Anyone else? If there are no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the first reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
move that we approve the first reading of Bill 3769, award of contract to Jeffrey Law Group LLC.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I will second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3769. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. As I have declared this an emergency read, could I please have the second reading of Bill 3769 in its entirety?
The second reading of Bill 3769 in its entirety, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Jeffrey Law Group LLC for legal services related to the potential landfill development, and due to the need to begin this work immediately, the mayor declares this as an emergency. Whereas the City of Raymore has learned of the potential of a solid waste landfill development directly abutting Raymore's north border, located in southeast Kansas City, Missouri, between 155th Street and 150 Highway, and whereas staff, in consultation with the mayor and city council, have identified 3 areas for engagement with outside firms related to this potential landfill development, including public relations, legal representation, and impact analysis consulting. And whereas, following a review of potential firms to perform this work, Jeffrey Law Group LLC has been determined to be the best partner for these specialized legal services and has indicated a willingness to work with the City of Raymore. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Raymore, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the city manager is hereby authorized to enter into a contract with Jeffrey Law Group LLC to provide legal services for the city, attached as Exhibit A. Section 2, the city manager and the city clerk are authorized to enforce the contract and make changes within established budget constraints. Section 3, effective date. The effective date of approval of this ordinance shall be coincidental with the mayor's signature and the attestation by the city clerk. Section 4, severability. If any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, the portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions thereof. Section 5, emergency reading. Due to the need of contract these services as soon as possible, the mayor has authorized this as an emergency reading. Duly read the first time this 12th day of December 2022. Be it remembered that the above ordinance was approved and adopted this 12th day of December 2022 by the following vote.
Thank you, ma'am. If there are no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that we approve the second reading of Bill 3769, award of contract to Jeffrey Law Group LLC.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I will second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3769. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Thank you. Could I please have a reading of Resolution 22-36 by title only?
The reading of Resolution 2236 by title only, a resolution of the City of Raymore, Missouri, expressing opposition to any proposed future solid waste or demolition material landfill or any solid waste or demolition material transfer station being located on the city's shared northern border with the City of Kansas City, Missouri.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, Your Honor. This resolution formally acknowledges and memorializes the opposition by the City of Raymore City Council to a landfill located north of our border between 150 Highway and 155th Street. It further requests that the City of Kansas City join you all in opposition to the location of a landfill in this place. That concludes staff report on this item, sir.
Thank you, sir. Is there any questions of staff at this time? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend?
move that we approve Resolution 22-36, resolution in opposition to a potential landfill in southeast Kansas City.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I will second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Motion been made and seconded to approve Resolution 22-36. Any further discussion? Mr. Townsend?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I could not let this pass without echoing the comments of my colleague, Mr. Holman, and also add some additional conversation regarding this particular resolution. I appreciate this coming forward so that we can formally put out a resolution in our opposition to this, which is obvious and duly noted, but also express our desires for the City of Kansas City to do the same. I've had several casual conversations with their elected officials and their city council members of each ward particularly, and this particular ward specifically. Had casual conversations as well as the mayor, with the Mayor Lucas. I've had several casual conversations with the Mayor Pro Tem. To a person, they've said that this is probably not the best place for this. But we've seen tweets, but we have not had formal conversations with respect to that, showing that they are not in agreement with this. While we have a particular developer who may be running the, doing their due diligence for potential to put an application together for this particular area, and nothing quote-unquote has formally been submitted to the City of Kansas City, we hope that this resolution that we put forward is adopted, and a resolution at the Kansas City City Council is also done to project to the particular developers or investors in this particular area that this is not the desired location for this, and that a larger conversation should be had within the region. If a landfill is necessary, that a regional conversation should be held to figure out where's the best place for one to be put, not in between two major communities that this presents, because the same issues that we're presenting is the reason for this is not the best location, are the same reasons that Kansas City Southeast would have, that this is not the best location. So I hope that this is adopted, which I'm assuming it will be by our council, but also by the City Council of Kansas City as well. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Barber?
Thank you, Your Honor. I agree with both Councilmember Townsend, Councilmember Holman. I just want to speak publicly that I support this resolution and that I'm 100% opposed to the landfill. And everybody that I've talked to in the city of Raymore, not only in my ward, but all over the city, is 100% opposed to this. In this day and age, we rarely find anything that we totally agree on, but this town agrees on this, and this is a terrible place. It would be so harmful and impactful to our citizens that, again, everybody is 100% opposed to it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Ms. Abdelgawad?
Just to add a little bit to what Mr. Barber and my fellow council members have said, not just the impact on the city that they've discussed, but also the environmental impact is a huge issue that we've discussed, and I think we'll continue to explore, but another gigantic reason that this is not the best place for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Burke?
Thank you. I might as well chime in as well. There's quite a few students or former students, RAPEC grads in our town in their 30s and 40s that everybody that went through 9th grade science at the high school, we spent probably 4 or 5 years, a major part of our curriculum talking about air pollution, water pollution, and all the sources that might not be expected. And this is certainly one that if you just put in a Google search and have it send you emails every time there's a landfill story, you wouldn't believe which I have done, you wouldn't believe all the kinds of things that are happening in landfills, and it's just not a good place for it between two lakes that we love and want to keep beautiful. So hopefully everyone will agree. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll add my, my harumph here, too. I also am opposed to this, and I applaud the council for being unanimous in its decision to oppose this. I know every person up here has been in opposition to this, and it's good to see everybody doing everything they can to make this not happen. So thank you for all the comments, and just wanted to add my 2 cents there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Well, I'll go ahead and add my 2 cents in as well. So as we learned about this several months ago, it came to us through confidential sources, and of course we were chastised for not revealing those sources initially, but now that more has been revealed, there are substantial indications that there is a large planning effort, which is really unfortunate because we have so many regional resources that exist specifically for identifying the need, identifying an appropriate location, and all these resources were circumvented for a much more non-transparent, clandestine type application process that will likely occur if it continues without opposition. So I feel comfortable that, and I'm excited too, as you said, John, the group being so on board with opposing this, that we are a loud voice in the region. We may be small in stature, but this group that's wanting to develop this idea has heard us and will continue to hear from us as we move forward. And I think everything that the council has done and will be doing this evening will send an even louder message to them that probably should have thought this through a little bit more and use the resources that are appropriately there for this purpose. And with that, if there's nothing else, I would, have we got a motion? We already have a motion. All those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously 8-0. That concludes new business. We'll now move on to public comments. If anyone from the public would like to address the council at this time, please step forward, state your name and address for the record. Try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Seeing no one come forward, I will now move on to Mayor Council communications. And Mr. Burke, I'll start with you this evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Other than the holiday spirit that we want everyone to enjoy, I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Holman?
Thank you, sir. Just one thing this evening, I would expound a little bit on the comments of the last item that everyone spoke about. If the parties that are initiating or attempting to initiate this action is truly interested in a landfill, we have to put our refuse somewhere. I would extend the invitation to join with us to find a better location. That's all I've got, sir.
All right, thank you. Ms. Abdelgawan.
Thank you, sir. I'll just take a moment to show some appreciation for Captain Wilson and his crew who worked so hard to put together Shop with a Cop. And I said captain, didn't I? I'm so sorry. It was too long that you were captain. Chief Wilson, I apologize. I told you it's like your first name. Chief Wilson and his crew who did Shop with a Cop, it was a fantastic event. I know it takes a lot of work to put that together. Thankful that we have lots of fantastic supporters for that event in the community that fund it for our kids here in town every year. I know that the officers every year look forward to that event and walk away from that evening with great big smiles on their faces, and also the children and also the parents. It's just a fantastic event. Also, just showing a little appreciation for the police chief Shepherd and Peculiar and their crew who also come up to help, since we're the Raymore Peculiar School District and that's where the kiddos come from. It makes sense to work together. Also, I know Walmart's fabulous to work with on that event. Chick-fil-A came out with the food. Lots of great volunteers who helped as well. very much a heartwarming evening. Would always invite other council members to come join if you're willing. But if you have a chance to talk with an officer, there were a few guys, men and women on the road, but everyone else was there shopping. If you have a chance to chat with an officer, they all have fantastic stories from the evening to share. Thankfully, no vomiting this year, as Chief said, but just showing gratitude for putting all that together for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wills.
Thank you, sir. I have no comments tonight.
Thank you. Ms. Forster.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to say I'm happy to see that it seems like the staff is all getting better and healthy. So glad to have you guys back and on board. I know it's difficult when you get shorthanded, and with everything that you've had on your plate with the landfill and just the normal day-to-day. I just appreciate all of the time that you guys have been putting into this to make this such a big impact to where we can easily just vote and say, thank you, make it happen. I mean, so I want to say we appreciate that, and yes, we're 100% all on board for this not to happen near Rainwater. And along the same thing, Shop with a Cop, I loved all the pictures that went out and the fun time you guys had, and it just makes a huge difference in the community. So really appreciate you stepping up and doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've kind of said my piece tonight, and I'll just leave with this. Chief, I guess we can call you whatever we want, but as long as the paycheck reflects chief, that's all that matters, right? Outstanding. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will start with the chief here. Despite your distinguished-looking beard, I'm going to pick on you a little bit tonight. Any resident of our community that's lived here for any length of time knows that this is a very safe community. We all think that, and it's due to the hard work the police department does. It also creates a false sense of security. We see this every year, and it's this time of year where it's going to happen again. I love this town. I love the people here. The thing that bothers me the most is reading the police blotter, and it's hard to not take it personally sometimes when you see all these things that happen. So for those of you that leave your cars running in the morning, you might want to find a better way to warm your car up, or find a way to, I don't know, maybe if you have remote start, but we see cars stolen every year. Lock your vehicles. For God's sakes, if you have weapons in your vehicles, please take them out, or at least lock your vehicle, because we see that every year too. That's a reoccurring trend, that people are just lifting handles in vehicles and they're getting away with firearms, and who knows what those are going to be used for in the future. And keep an eye on your neighbors. Watch out for your packages. I know we have package thieves every year. That's an annoying thing that happens, but thank you guys for all the fine work you do. Please tell everybody in the police department. They really do a great job, but these things seem to escalate this time of year, so that's my little PSA for the public there. Thank you.
Great message, John. And Mr. Barber.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is our last regular council meeting, isn't it, till after the first of the year?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to make my statement and then look like an idiot, so I wanted to wish the citizens and staff, this council, and Your Honor, to have the best and the happiest of holidays, and have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we need to go into executive session, so I'm going to keep my comments brief, ditto on what everybody else said. So we'll, and Merry Christmas to everyone. So I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Townsend.
I move that the Raymore City Council move to executive session to discuss land acquisition matters as authorized by revised Missouri Statute 610.021, subsection 1, real estate acquisition matters under subpart revised Missouri Statute 610.021.2, and personnel matters as authorized by revised Missouri Statute 610.021, subparagraph 3.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Thank you. Motion been made and seconded to move into executive session. I won't repeat all of that. So can I please have the roll call?
Councilmember Abdel-Gawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Berenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Councilmember Wills?
Yes.